Good morning, everybody in the UK, and we are nearly time for the first round of the OTR e-racing Tour de Monde. So we've already had two races in the series today. This is a brand new series from the OTR e-racing team featuring Sammy's Magic Roads. And this is a fantastic but very arduous, grueling 12-stage competition, both for teams and individuals, that will be raced on the RGT Magic Roads. And if you're not familiar with the RGT Magic Roads, essentially RGT has this wonderful facility where you can submit a GPX file and they will turn them into real roads. So this is a 12-stage competition. It's over a 16-day period from today all the way through to Sunday the 23rd of January. It's both a team and an individual competition, and it will take you to every corner of the globe, from these iconic rides to the inaccessible or otherwise unrideable areas. And if you have a look at the course booklet or the ride booklet, you will see some of the fantastic series, the fantastic events that this series has to offer. So this challenges both remote climbs in the deserts of North Africa, through the Indian Ocean, islands beyond, USA, Paris, the UK. Literally, this is, as you would expect, a proper Tour de Monde. So we have 12 stages of varying ability, from flat to hilly to mountain, and of course we've got this very first stage, which is an individual time trial, a classic event on the Tour de Monde calendar. So this is an almost perfect replica of the TT that was beautifully ridden by Greg LeMond in the 1989 Le Tour, when he managed to pull back a 50-second deficit to the local favourite to finally win the Tour by a whopping 8 seconds. So this stage goes from Versailles all the way through to Paris in France, and unusually it goes down the Arc de Triomphe the wrong way. So Greg, when he rode this ride, managed an impressive 33.893 miles per hour on the 25-kilometre ride. So that was the fastest ever time trial ridden in the Tour de France at the point, winning the stage, and then his second tour. So unusually for the Tour de France, this ITT was at the end of the tour, whereas today, classically, we've got the ITT at the beginning of the tour to try and get some seconds gaps between the riders to create some really competitive racing over the next 11 rounds. OTR created this route by going through the historical road route and managed to create this in Google Maps, transported this over to a GPX file, cleaned it up a little bit using a GPX cleaner, and then imported this onto RGT. So what you will see today will not look like the roads, but every single rider on this course will be able to feel the roads. This is a downhill start, and essentially it's a downhill race. It has 119 meters of climbing, but it has 191 meters of descent. Now don't let that fool you, this will not be easy. So this is an ITT. All the races, as you can see, are sitting in the pen at the moment. They're all just ready to launch off. We've got literally every single team represented here. Some of the big teams that we've seen in RGT racing already, is the Team 3R, ECKD. I can see some no pins guys in there as well. The pedalers are in there too. OTR, obviously good representation from them. So we've got several teams riding in this event today. So with only 27 seconds to go, the key to this will be getting your pacing right. This is a downhill start. You have a really long downhill drag for a good few kilometers before it starts to flatten out. That's where you need to get your pacing right. So what we will see probably is riders shooting off at the start, and we will see riders getting their pacing wrong, where they try and push it too hard down these downhill sections and then running out of steam before they get to the end and the little uphill finish at the Arc de Triomphe. And we're off. So although we're starting as a big bunch, the draft is disabled for this ride, so none of the riders will be able to draft any of the oppositions around them, so they are all racing their own ride. Now, one of the problems with this mass start, as we can see, we've got everybody up in the red numbers, typical kind of virtual racing mentality, right? Let's just smash it out the gate. Let's see if we can get a gap and see if we can split the pack. That doesn't actually matter in today's race, and I'd be interested to know how many riders actually realise that there was no draft enabled on today's ride. So this is going to be difficult for them to pace because, you know, like every single cyclist on the planet, riding whatever it is, you're chasing something, whether it's chasing the next tree, whether it's chasing the roundabout, whether it's chasing getting last to the cafe stop so you don't have to get the round in. But these riders will be chasing the wheel in front. So this is where you have to be really disciplined. Stick to your pacing, get your pacing right. Don't get too excited in the first half of the race. We're hopefully going to see some of these riders pulling some negative splits. So the first half of the ride, I would expect them to take it relatively easy on this downhill slope. You don't want to be pushing it too hard down here. Most of the gains in time will be made when we come to the flat sections and the uphill towards the finish. This downhill section probably won't make a significant impact in these riders' times. We're currently at a very small downhill slope. We've only got 0.2 downward slope here, and we can already see the riders starting just to spread around the road. Some riders there that we may be familiar with. Hendrik Maard there from Pedalers. Got Oram from ECKD, both great teams, and there's Falk Levin going for Go Team Lou. Lou is a kind of very prodigious racing or riding team on RGT. He's got a good following, so hopefully we'll see some good riders in from Team Lou here today, putting in good performances. So who has got their pacing right? Who knows what to do in a TT? And who is just going to absolutely smash it out the gate and then die by the time they get to halfway? Or I'm putting in some big numbers up on the pedals, putting some big attacks in on his own, 4.3 watts per kilogram. Be interesting to see whether Martin can hold that power for the whole of the ride. So we've already had 2 rounds in this race today. So this series is over 12 weeks, but we have 4 different time phases. This one is the 12 o'clock, 1 UK time. We had one at 4 o'clock this morning, and then at midnight GMT time, and there's one later on this afternoon as well. So the fastest time on this course today is an impressive 37.12 seconds by Finn Brask of the ECK team, and he was closely followed by Greg Barnett, 37.25, and then Per Sonderby from the ECKD team. That was at the 8 o'clock race this morning. Earlier on today, Julian Fussell of SDW managed to pull in a time of 38.58, followed by Michael Giblot of OTR, 39.27, and Tristan Riston coming in third at 40 minutes and 51 seconds. So it will be interesting to see how many of these riders are able to get below 40 minutes. Already we're starting to see riders dotting across the road, trying to get the pacing right, trying to get themselves into a comfortable rhythm, and that's difficult when you're on a course that has changing terrain. So it's really difficult to get into that rhythm. They will be trying to get the cadence right, either just trying to keep the cadence relatively slow, delivering nice relaxed power to the pedals, and then when it gets into the flat we should probably see either some of the power ratings go up, or even maybe see some of the cadence go up as they start to get a little bit of fatigue building in the leg muscles. So currently we're on a downslope of minus 1.4%. Still downhill, but you can see from the numbers that these lads are pulling, and lasses for that point, pulling 4 watts per kilogram, which is certainly not taking it easy down these downhill sections. Art there looks like he's currently leading the field, currently pulling 4.4 watts per kilogram. Hart's a strong rider. He's got a bit of a freewheel in there, and that's because through these corners there, RGT slows you down. It will not allow you to pedal round a sharp corner. So you might see the power numbers in the top left hand corner of the rider's screen going red. If it does that, that means that the rider is actually braking, and putting any power down the pedals is wasted energy. Also on the top left hand side of the screen we can see that beautiful, actually I'll come back to that, we've got a lovely shot of the riders today. So we've got John Beams, who's a very well established RGT racer, and always on camera, never looks any different to whether he's in pain or not. Looks comfortable at the moment. Zipped down already though, so he's obviously getting hot in that garage of his. Clive by him there, with a beautiful high-vis jacket in the back. Whether that's his team colours, I don't know. Looks very, very comfortable there, does Clive. So he's obviously got his pacing spot on, unlike Gordon on the right-hand side. And you can see what Gordon's doing in his beautifully sunlit, probably orange tree. He's probably got a lemon tree off to his left-hand side there. That beautiful whiff of citrus kind of powering him on in his sky jersey. But we can see Gordon there looking like he's working hard. So Gordon may well be chasing wheels. If that's the case, we will see Gordon really struggle in the second half of the race. So we can see there's that red number at the top there. That's because Hart is currently braking, just slowing him down. So as I was saying before, the top left hand side of the screen there, we can see the power metrics for the rider. Top left, we've got the power, 351 watts at the moment, cadence at 93. So he's spinning along quite nicely there. Heart rate 158. That's probably well within his limit for Hart, who's a strong racer. Underneath that, we can see that nice graph, just that little graph there. Now what we would like to see with the TT is that graph to be as flat as a pancake. The flatter you can get that graph, the more efficient your power is, and you're able to deliver that power for longer. What we don't want to see, which is what we see in the other races, are spikes and troughs and spikes and troughs. Those little peaks and troughs of your riding will slow you down. Now this is where it's going to be difficult for Hart. He will want to chase Van der Wheel down, but if he's got any sense about him, he'll just race his own race. He'll not chase that wheel down, because it doesn't matter. What matters in this race is the time across the line. And this is a 12 series event. But look at this, look at this, Van der Wheels. Look at his graph in comparison. Look at those little peaks and troughs that he's got going in there already. So he's been putting in a few spurts, easing off, a few spurts, easing off, a few spurts, easing off. He will probably pay for that some point later in the race. Those little spurts, those little digs that riders put in is far more tiring and far more fatigue inducing in the muscles than be able to maintain a constant power throughout. Let's see if that theory is proved right as we go through this race. We've got 19.2 kilometers to go of this TT, 5.8 kilometers in. We will start flattening out very soon. Still currently on the downhill, minus 3.5 at the moment. But Jonas Van der Wheel is one of the 8 OTR guys, so he will be, he'll be there trying to put some good times in for his team. Now this competition is both individual and for the teams. So for the individual riders, we have a GC riders. Now the big catch with this is, like, unlike some other races that we see in both on RGT and on other virtual platforms, very often that you have to compete only a certain amount of races. Not on this one. Not like this is like the real Tour de France. Miss a stage, that's it. You're out of here. So the OTM Old Gates. This is the Old Gates team. So that we're starting to get some useful team information coming up on the screen. Per Sonderberg is a racer who I'm very familiar with. Kit Atchison, Peter Brook Wavell, Lee Marshall, Patrick Oliver, great name, and Tony Simmons as the Algates. Now every team can field up to 6 racers. You need to finish every race with at least 3 races. The top 3 races in any race will score points for your team, or will count to your team's position. The OTR team Ospreys are Stuart Murray, Mike, Clive Bymer we saw on video there looking very comfortable, Nestor James and Paul. It'll be interesting to see if Clive's looking as comfortable in a little while. We'll check into him in a wee while to see how he's doing. Another team, RTR team, so OTR obviously have a good representation in this competition, being their own series with Peter, Roger, Andy, Mark, Robin and Gerald as well. We've got a good few riders signed up to today's race. We've got 106 online already, so this is the biggest field that's going to be racing in today's series. I'm not quite sure whether the event tonight will have any more numbers in. OTR team keys. We've got Wendy. It's great to see one of the girls in. This will be a tough stage for Wendy. It's going to be flat, so she will definitely have to make some time up in some of the hillier series, and I'm fairly sure that the team keys will be deploying Wendy into the hillier races later on. Adrian, Shane, Derek, Gordon and Paul, all. And there we can see McIntyre there. Look at his cadence. He's really trying to spin up this 7.3% slope. This is a cheeky little dig, isn't it? You know, you wouldn't expect this little dig anywhere near this. This is just this little dig just before you get to the downhill section, just to really let you know that you shouldn't be working too hard. It's 12.1%. So this is a nice little cheeky lump before we get to the flat section. And we will see the riders really powering up this hill. This is where you can make great time on a TTT with your uphill pushes. If you can push up the hill, that's where you will make time on the riders. Very, very rarely do you make a lot of time downhill, but you can make a significant amount of time going up the hills. Moon Riders, a very, very well-established team with Jonathan, Mike, Matt, Bjorn and Isidoro. So they've got a good full 6 in the series there today. And as I was saying before, every team has to field 6 riders. Now, if you want to count towards the individual GC, you have to finish as an individual every single race in this event. So all 12 series, from the flats of Paris through to the hillies of America, the flats of Zanzibar and Tanzania, all the way through to Mount Fuji in Japan, and finishing off with a great Christmas Island race in the lovely continent of Oceania. And that's a hilly stage to finish with. But with every single race, there's an individual GC, and this is the cumulative time across every single stage. There's an individual mountain event as well, and this is cumulative points gained from the mountain stages. There is an individual sprints competition as well, and these are cumulative points gained from stages, the sprint stages, which are stages 3, 5, 8, 9, and of course the 12. Ah, hello Deadpool, long time no see. Ryan is a very well established virtual racer, and I've raced and ridden with Deadpool many a time. Not for a good while though. We don't seem to have ridden or raced a lot recently together, so we'll have to put that right sometime, Ryan. With the individual team competition, we also have a team competition as well, and every team is made up of 6 riders. The team competition is tracked by taking the GC rider of the position on the RGD platform, which is essentially the way that RGT log all of the events that are coming up, the series, and also the results. And they're very, very responsive to community feedback, growing all the time, expanding all the time, and it's a fantastic facility to see how you are doing in your races, but also how you stack up and rank against your oppositions. The position of the 3rd rider in each team on the GC dictates your place in the team competition. So for example, the 3rd rider on team A, let's say Moon Riders for example, is in 23rd place on GC, and the 3rd rider from team B, such as the OCR team Keys, is in 31st place. Therefore team A is leading over team B. So it does really for all of the riders to be able to be available for all of the sessions, or for all of the stages, so you can really work your way up that individual GC and really put your team in a great position. But because we've got a lot of sign-ups, we're going to have a lot of spread of riders across the field. Excuse me. And that will mean that working out these team positions will be really interesting, and we won't really know where the teams sit until the next day following a series. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat today, so I do apologise. So we've got Slater there from DMRC, again a well-established RGT team, just getting himself right. We can see Slater's graph there as well as Sanderson's graph. Just look at how spiky that graph is. So we've got big dips, a really very, very solid start, and then as he's gone down the hill, he's just dipped off. And now that we're on this little flat kind of false uphill kind of section, this 4.2% slope probably feels a lot harder than that now. We can see how Sanderson's graph just dipped. There was a little few dips, unlike Van Heesen. Oh no, yeah, is it? No, we're with Sanderson there. Sorry, oh no, Van Heesen. We can see his graph started off really quite hard, took a really big spike, and then it's really dropped, and he settled into a level of power. He had a bit of recovery, and he's picked it back up again. So we can see Heesen's now kind of up and down on his power. That's telling us that there's a degree of fatigue coming in already, and we're only 9.76 kilometers into the ride in 62nd position, and that's what we can see. These stronger riders are able to maintain that power for longer, and we'll see flatter graphs. These lower position riders, so we've got Steve in there from TLR in 63rd position. Again, a very spiky graph, and Stephen will have to kind of gather himself together, get his pacing right, and get back into it. John Beams zip fully down now. John means business. Is his heart rate monitor, which is one of the prerequisites of these RGT and virtual racing series, is making sure that whenever you're racing, that you are racing entirely fair. That means having a heart rate monitor, so we can just track how hard you're working. John's ticking along at 165 beats per minute there. Also an accurate weight, so we know that when you're riding, that has a big impact on whether you're riding up a downhill or on the flat. So all riders who are working at a relative level submit a weigh-in for community viewing to make sure that they are in fact riding with an accurate weight. Clive still looking comfortable, but he's starting to get a bit of movement on the bike there, so I think there's still a bit left in Clive. Gordon, I think that's just Gordon's riding style. Gordon just looks like he's putting the effort in all of the time. Doesn't look comfortable at all, Gordon, but that's good. Be great to see if we can find Gordon somewhere on the course and just see how his avatar's doing, what position he's in, and how hard he's working. Top left, we can see John's avatar there, working hard. John's there in his pedalers, but he's actually looks like he might be wearing. I think he's wearing a 3R jersey, is John. So John's is he doing this? Is this a little bit cheekiness from John? Is John wearing a 3R jersey just to throw the competition off the scent, or is he just fancied a change day? Is his peddler's jersey currently in the wash, and this is his reserve jersey that he got by kind of doing fantastic performances in the recent No Pins Super Series. So coming up to this yellow banner, where are we on the coast? This is boom, halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. They'll probably be living in a prayer for the next 12.68 kilometers. So there's Hart, second place at the moment from Van der Veer. Look at Hart's graph. Look at that, absolutely flat as a pancake. Little dip. Whether he had a little power out there, wouldn't be surprising if that was a little power out at some point. We had a little ANT drop. Doug doing very well. He's putting in a good solid performance there. 4.2 watts per kilogram. I suspect Doug will be probably averaging somewhere over 4 watts per kilogram. Just got Van der Veer in his sights. Now that's actually not a bad thing for Doug, to be fair, because keeping that rider in sight will give him that little bit of inspiration just to continue to keep pushing those pedals, keep that power nice and steady. He's currently ticking around that mid 4 watts per kilogram, which is great. Oh, so just had a great message from Tim. Tim is just telling me that John Beams is actually riding for 3R in the Tour de Monde. So John's actually got a guest pass to ride for 3R. That's why he's wearing a 3R jersey. So he's obviously his peddler's jersey is in the iron. He's got that in the iron pal. Got his nice spangly 3R jersey out, made by No Pins. And he's putting in, as we'd expect from John, a great performance. Currently sitting in third position, but ticking along there at 4.95 watts per kilogram. And there's John there. So John hasn't changed his bike colour, which, that's bad styling by John. John, come on, up your game, mate. You can't be having a yellow bike with the 3R kit. It goes beautifully. I agree, it goes beautifully with the yellow peddler's jersey. But you're not going to turn heads looking at that, John. Come on, sort it out for tomorrow, please. Get your act together. But John putting in a good performance, and I'll expect John to be up there in the top 10 of this individual series, and certainly putting in a sterling performance for the 3R guys. Simonson 130, so we can see all the way down. We got all the way down to 130th riders on the road. at 130th position there, 3 point. He's putting in quite a bit of effort though, 3.8 watts per kilogram. But looking at his power graph, that's been relatively steady. So I don't think he's had a dropout. Whether he had a bit of a dropout at the start of the line, that may be why he's down there, because he's putting in decent numbers there. He's certainly not ticking along at 1.52 watts per kilogram. So I suspect something's gone on with Simonsen on the line and is now just having to try and play catch up. Now that's, if he's putting out 3.8 watts per kilogram, that's great for him, because that means that he's got riders to aim for and riders that he will pass as he goes through the field. And if he continues to put in that amount of effort throughout this race, we will undoubtedly see Simonsen raise from 130th position all the way through that field. Be interesting to see how far he can climb through this pack as the race goes on. Yamata we saw there with them a great flat graph. There's Samir, and Samir is who has been cleaning up these GPX files with Magic GPX and creating the routes. So everybody in this series can thank Samir for the amount of pain that he puts you through. Samir riding for the OTR team, currently down in a 126th position. Got those little bit of ups and downs, and you can see those real flat sections there, and I wonder whether he's had a little bit of connection problem as well. Why that was one of the girls, one of the ladies in the race there today, obviously pacing her own ride very sensibly and not chasing Samir as he goes past. So why are there? No doubt just kind of keeping it nice and comfortable. Ellis 124th position, reasonably comfortable flat curve, and what we will see is these riders that manage to maintain that really nice steady flat power curve will probably find that towards the end of the race there'll be a little bit left in the tank to be able to really power up this last hill in the last few meters. Del Vescio, whether that's just the legs have gone or whether that's the connection gone, we don't know. We will see whether he or she gets back going again. And there's the other Y. Now, whether that's Mr. Y, closely followed by Mrs. Y, only a few spots down. So, who is that, brother and sister, do you reckon? Husband and wife? It'll be interesting to see who gets the best of the Y household today. It'll no doubt be that. Hopefully, if they've got any sense, there'll be a bet on. So, whoever gets the fastest time gets the pamper treatment. Whoever gets the slowest time makes the tea. Jerky Twizzlers, chunky fries, and sweet corn. It's a great camera angle. All four riders, we can just see Van der Waal continuing to pace it out the front. His graph has flattened off quite considerably, so after a fairly hectic start he settled into a better pace, and that will put him in great stead. But look on the right hand side, Dudukia, look at how flat that curve is, just absolutely pan flat. So how does he do that? That might raise some questions with the RGT team. It's very, very hard to be able to sustain a power level that flat without some form of external assistance, but he might just be the absolute master of pacing, because it has gone up and down a little bit over the last wee while. Great helicopter angle on the bottom left there. We can just see the scenery, and as I was saying before, this doesn't accurately replicate the scenery of the actual roads themselves. Once you submit your GPX file to RGT, they create the scenery around that, and you can have a countryside scene like we've got here. Beautiful. I'd love to any tree experts here. If anybody knows what tree that is, please let me know. Is this from Britain? Is it from Canada? Is it an American tree? If you know, if you're a good utopiary, just type in, let me know. We've got a lot of big trees, not small trees as well. Doug there, still in second place, still ticking away at 4.5 watts per kilogram. So he's still putting in a good effort, and he's still actually doing well. And we can just see as we go down that field how those gaps in the races are just starting to spread out a bit as everybody's racing their own race. So even though it looks like they're on road bikes, the draft is disabled, and there is no draft to the rider in front of you, which is proper TT action. Van der Waal has got a 326, he's got about 180 meters on Doug, and then John Beams is another 90 so meters behind him, and Schock from Germany in fourth position at the moment. Again, look at all these top riders, they're all averaging well above 4 watts per kilogram. So these are certainly not your low category riders, these are certainly your highly experienced riders who can maintain this power for a good length of time. Lundqvist in 5th. McIntyre, who we saw before, who was smashing it down the hill earlier on, in 6th position at the moment on the road. So this will reflect in the times as well. Currently we've been racing for 24 minutes and 17.5 kilometers, 7.4 kilometers to go, but we've got this little uphill sting in the tail. That's where the gains will be made. That's where the real times will start to come in. Askew there in 7th place, closely followed by Hendrik Mars. So Mars Askew riding for the Moonriders team. Again, well-established team with Hendrik Mark on his tail. Now, it's interesting, Hendrik and Mark are actually pulling off very, very similar watts. This is good for Hendrik, so Hendrik can just sit, just watching Askew's wheels there, just making sure that he maintains that gap, trying to match him power for power, and that's actually certainly going to go in Hendrik's favour. Simmons there in 9th place, so we got the top 10 leaderboard. So we've got Van der Wiel in 1st, followed by Hart, Beams in 3rd from Pedlers, Lundqvist, Schock, McIntyre, Askew, Mard, Simmons, and Broekvabel. So Tony Simmons there. Looks like he's reading for the OTR team, putting a little bit of a dig in. Broekvabel again, one of the OTR guys. So we've got a good few OTR jerseys in the top half of this field. That's going to be great for the OTR team as a whole. But as we saw in the graphic earlier on, the OTR team is not one team on its own. It's several teams riding together in the same race. Got some great feedback coming in social media at the moment. Fleming back. Hi Fleming, hopefully see you tomorrow night in the final no pins event tomorrow. Tim Cook there rooting for his 3R team. Nicky Howegard wanting Morton and Jackson Macken to go hard. Fleming again wanting Hans Olsen to start pushing it, and Nick Pinkston putting out a good few shout outs to his teammates as well. Go back onto the roads. I think we've got a good spread of men and women in this field today, and it'd be really interesting to see how the teams deploy each of their interval riders to go for points or time in particular stages. So just like in real life, this is real true team racing, and I'm fairly sure that today we probably won't see the teams communicating on Discord or another verbal communication system, but we may well have somebody who's looking after each of their riders. We might have somebody who's working as a director sportive, just giving them a little bit of feedback, telling them the gaps to the player ahead, telling them the gaps to the rider behind, making sure that they stay focused, making sure that they get the pacing right, making sure they continue to push those pedals till the end, being able to identify the team gaps, where they are in comparison to the rest of their team, and how their team's doing to the rest of the field. The DS will really start to come into play when we get to the more intense road races, where team tactics will almost certainly play a part, and we definitely see that playing a big part in the RGT races because of the draft mechanics. So these draft mechanics certainly are very true to life. It certainly makes you work harder to stay in a pack, and it also allows you to make breakaways, and we've seen that in many of the races that we've already seen on the ZMS broadcasts, from the Echelon League through to the No Pin Super Series, and here today for the first stage of the OTR Tour de Monde. Nichols down in 106th place, ticking along. Nice flat graph there for I want to say Paul Nichols, but that's probably because he was a comedian back in the 80s. Timo giving the Moonriders a shout out. Thanks Timo, great to actually see you online. And we've got James Ogilvie. I think everyone's looking great. James is actually the brains behind this series, the OTR e-racing Tour de Monde. So everybody thank James and Samir for putting this wonderful series on over these 12 stages and these couple of weeks of RGT racing. Jesper Gottlieb, another great racer who we've seen feature in the No Pins, kind of shouting on his ACK team now. He's obviously saving his legs for the race tomorrow. James, look at James there with his running vest on. Running? James, where you playing at? Get yourself a cycling picture, honestly. But great to see James checking in as well, just making sure everyone's looking okay, making sure that this event is going smoothly. I'm fairly sure that he's probably in the hospitality tent right now with kind of a nice glass of champagne, celebrating this very successful first stage that we're seeing at the moment. Everything's gone to plan, the weather is beautiful, all the races have turned up, 137 races on the road today, and we've had more races in, so we're going to be getting a good few hundred races riding in each of these stages, which is going to be great for just making this a very, very tight and very, very well fought competition. Back to the videos. Raw, this is starting to look a bit different now. John's starting to feel that pace now. So he hasn't got a huge amount of distance to go now. 7 kilometers to go. But John's starting to feel it. You can just see, just look at that look on his face. That's John's really starting to have to dig in there. Clive's still looking comfortable. Oh, but the zip's down. Clive's got the zip down with his little undervest on there. So Clive's facing it. Gordon still digging in hard, head down now, head down, pushing the pedals, really working hard. This looks like it's a sterling effort from Gordon on that on the right hand side in his Team Sky jersey. Now if you are a rider riding in any of these stages, please do get yourself engaged in the Zoom video. Seeing these Zoom videos of the riders is absolutely brilliant for the audience, it's brilliant for you and your team, and it's great for me as a commentator to see how well all of these guys are doing. Go back to the action. John Beams there. We could just see how John was starting to really feel it. We can see that in his numbers just starting to drop down into those low fours. And we just look at John's graph. Look at the far left of his graph there, up there. We can just see that very gradual decline in his power output as John starting to feel it. But he's only got 2.7 kilometers to go. A little bit of a respite as he goes around these tight corners. Pointless pedaling around those because there's no gain to be made. You might as well have a breather, gather your thoughts, and get ready for this next 2.6 smash, which is only going one way, and that is up the hill to the end where we finish on the Arc de Triomphe. Doug Hard's graph's looking fantastic at the moment. Doug is still plugging away. Now will Doug be able to, last couple of kilometers, will we see Doug put himself into the red? Currently, if you look at the avatar's name there, we can see the flag that they're representing, the position that they're in to begin with, the team or the country that they are from, the name of the rider. But under that as well, we see this coloured little bar. Now that coloured bar gives us an indication of how hard this rider is working, and that's based on a metric called your FTP. Your FTP is essentially how hard you can pedal for about an hour. It's a fairly accurate measure, so all of the riders enter their FTP, and this tells us how hard they're working in relation to their FTP. So yellow is round about FTP levels. This is what we would call threshold. This is the power that you could ride at for about an hour. So these guys on the front, Jonas van der Velde, for instance, Jonas, he should be able to hold this comfortably. Now Jonas is coming up to the line at 1.3 kilometers and he's still in the yellow. I would love to see some of these riders start to nudge it up into the orange. There we go. Speak of the devil, he ups it. Thanks for it. Jonas obviously listening to the stream, and then he's having a bit of a breather, and now I'm expecting Jonas to put it up into the orange, put it up into the red. And here comes the Flamme Rouge. We've got 1 kilometer of TT racing to go. So currently 33 minutes 22 seconds. That gives Jonas 4 minutes to complete that last kilometer. And at 40 kilometers an hour, you can do the maths because I'm too busy talking about these wonderful races there today. I'd like to see a crowd on the Flamme Rouge there, out on a beautiful sunny day in Paris, which we don't see very often. Doug now up into the yellow. Let's see him get up into the orange. John Beams taking it easy, 3rd place. So we've got this 1 kilometer to go. This is where you can really make these gains. This is a very, very gradual uphill slope all the way to the finish. So this is where those vital maybe seconds will have a massive impact on where you finish in this field. This is where you really want to push it down. Have you left anything in the tank at all to finish strong? What you want to be doing, stick it up into the red zone, just get your head down, push the pedals, and just take it all the way through to the line. Jonas doing exactly that. Jonas up into the red now. Jonas has got 200 meters to go, up at 485 watts, up into the red zone. Jonas is really putting in a strong performance. He's got 200 meters left to go. This is where you really start to put, this is where it starts to dig, this is where it starts to hurt, but this is where the gains can really be made. Jonas doing a fantastic race. Go on, Jonas, push it right up to the line. He's just easing off of the on there. He's zipping his jersey up for the cameras, and Jonas takes across the line. What a fantastic time. Almost 3 minutes faster than the times we've seen for. That has set the bar by a long way. Doug Hart coming up in the second place. He's got just over 200 meters to go. Doug's going to be probably ticking in below 36 minutes. So in comparison to the races that we've seen so far, these are very definitely the times to beat in this first stage of the OTR Tour de Monde. Doug crossing the line at 35 minutes and 26 seconds and a section. John, look at John there. John wants these last few seconds. John's really putting in the effort now. John's currently in third place. He's got 73 meters to go. Go on, John, get it in the red, keep it there, push, 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 push. John's going to get into 36 minutes as well. Fantastic efforts by these guys. Can Lundqvist, can he get under 36 minutes as well? So can we get, go on, he got 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Yes, he can do it. Oh, this is going to be a challenge for Jacques to get into 36 minutes, just outside the 36 minute point, but still well inside the current top time of 37 minutes and 12 seconds. So currently we've got Hendrik as well coming along there in 6th position. We currently got 7 riders who are faster than the fastest time already. So this is by far the fastest stage, and we can start to see them all coming in now, putting those efforts right at the end. Come on, Simmons, let's have you up into the red. No point putting the green zone in. Come on, you want to get into that 37 minute. Tim just taking out. There's Kelly's Vesper, 11th place. Greenhoff from Moonriders, probably Linden Poker. They're all coming in from Netherlands, coming in thick and fast now. All of them putting in that great effort towards the end. Savello, I'm hoping he's riding a Savello there. I hope he's not cross-branding. And Samet from Poco, very definitely putting in the effort. So I think he's going to be the last rider to get into 37 minutes. Oh, is Oram going to sneak in? Oh, not quite, but still faster than the times we've seen so far. So these are coming in thick and fast. Can Sully beat the fastest time? He's got 4 seconds to get across the line. This is going to be tight. Oh, I would like to call that. So did Sully manage to get in just in time inside of the current fastest time, which is 37.12. So all of these riders now are certainly going to be beautifully placed in the start of the GC. Snooten there for R3R, Sondergaard for the ECKD, who've always got a fantastic showing at RGT. And if you come and join me tomorrow on the ZMS live stream with the last stage of the No Pin Super 6 series, we will see no doubt the OTR team with Keith coming in there, the Moonriders team, the ECKD team, as well as the No Pins and the 3R teams smashing it out and really battling for a well contested competition. But as the No Pins Super Series finishes, the OTR Tour de Monde begins. So do not fear, ZMS will be covering these races for you to watch some fantastic RGT racing over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we will see some fantastic racing. We will see a tight individual competition, and we will see some great team racing with some great team tactics. And you can absolutely guarantee that this will not be boring viewing, as no RGT races, not a single RGT race that I have been in or I have commentated on has been anyway boring. Because of the mechanics, because of the draft dynamics, there are always attacks and there are always gaps to be made. So the riders now starting to come in down into 41st place. We're about a third of the way down the field now, all coming in at under 39 minutes. Houston from Norway riding for 3R there. So quite a few 3R riders have come in so far. We've seen a good few OTR riders come in, and a few ECKD riders come in as well. And I'm not quite sure yet how many teams we have entered in this event, but I'm fairly sure that I will find out soon, and we will find out tomorrow for sure when we see the results of the first stage put up on the RGT site. And also, if you want to follow what's going on with this series, why not check into Facebook if you're a Facebook user and see if you can hunt down the OTR e-racing. So just go to facebook.com and put in OTR e-racing. That will take you to their site, and you can have a look at what they've got coming up, as well as loads of content. OTR are very active on the Facebook site. They put in a lot of content, and there's a good discussion going there. So get yourself on there, get yourself into the discussion, have a look and find out what's going on, get the breakdown of today's event. By all means, put in your thoughts of how you felt the race went. When I saw the names on the race sheet today, I was fairly sure we were in for a fast time. Faster than I thought, to be fair, but that's great for this racing. So we've got the guys from this morning. We thought that Finn, obviously sitting comfortably on that 37 minutes, he's got a 2-minute deficit to make up on some of the riders who finished there today. So this is going to make these riders who rode on earlier on today have to work harder. And the guys that are coming on later on have really got a good time to chase. Always easier to be in the second or the third tranche because you've certainly got something that you need to beat. You can change your pacing strategy accordingly. But you want to be careful, because what you do not want to do is put all of your eggs into the ITT basket and find that when it comes to the road race tomorrow, that you just cannot push the pedals, you cannot perform, and you lose time. That's the key to these events, is making sure that you pace yourself successfully, not only through this ITT, as we can see them all lining up in a huge conga. I wonder who's going to start the music and get them. Ooh, come on, let's do the conga. Let's glide across these magic roads. Coming in thick and fast, down into 100th position now. We'll see all of these riders home, hopefully, before we get finished. Good to see everybody home. Good to see how people are putting the efforts in. Let's see whether our 3 Zoom callers have finished. Has Gordon finished his ride yet? I don't know whether he has. I did see Burnham. I think I saw Keith crossing the line a little bit earlier on, so his race is no doubt done. And here we've got the official final timing results. So Jonas van der Velde. Now, what I did say was that I thought Jonas might have just gone out a bit too hard, a bit too fast, but he reined it in. He managed to get himself into a comfortable rhythm and managed to TT and pace himself all the way to the end with a whopping 5.42 watts per kilogram. Now that is some effort. That will actually make Jonas have to submit plenty of information to the RGT guys, including his weight, height, mother's maiden name, first dog's pet's name, as well as his FTP and heart rate data, to make sure that those were legitimate figures. Doug Hart, we know, is a well-established racer, 4.36, and John a 4.74. Good efforts by certainly the top 10, who all, actually the top 15 riders all coming under 37 minutes. And the top, Torleif Solly, as I said, did he come inside Finn's time earlier on? Not quite. So Solly is 0.4 seconds outside of Finn Brassick's team from earlier on today. So we've got the top 16 riders actually all faster than the rest of the races today. So this is certainly going to open things right the way up. We've got a few team names on the end of the riders. Apologise for messing up John, who's still currently got his pedalers suffix, his pedalers in the heart, guesting for 3R at the moment. Obviously pedalers may not have been able to put in a full team into this event, and hopefully that will not make John too tired for the next stage. So we can see all the way down to 30th position, and all the way down to 30th, even 38 minutes. That's still a good time for this course, and it's certainly not an easy TT course, with it being a downhill start, down to flat, and then through to straight. Looking down the rest of the field, we can see riders all the way down at the 6th position. Even Ben in 60th position there still managed to clock under 40 minutes, which is a really good performance. So that's a fantastic effort by Ben to get in there as well. Just having a little look at the rider list. See a lot of riders from lots of teams. Gordon Jackson there, who on one of our Zoom callers, 38.41. Gordon looked like he was suffering all the way around. 3.41, that's a really good effort, Gordon. Good riding from you there today. It didn't look very comfortable, so well done on that time. That's a great time to start with, and that's certainly going to put you in good position as well. So we're now starting to see the riders just thinning out a little bit as they come across the line. See these riders come up, and why these last few riders are coming across the line, see the rest of the down to the 90th position all putting in good power averages. So we're looking, you know, that most of the riders are putting over 3 watts per kilogram on this race, on this stage, which is a good effort depending on where you are. RGT has a very slightly different categorization system to Swift, very much based on whether you're bronze, silver, gold or platinum. That tells you what your race ranking is, and that essentially pitches you against riders of the same caliber. Samir, who's the GPX man, he cleaned up these roads. He's managed to smooth out all the bumps. He managed to make these roads nice and smooth, tarmacked over the pot marks, got the lines painted beautifully. Coming in to finish his TT, looks like it's just going to be just over 46 minutes. But again, a good ride. Simonson, as we saw, Simonson started his, when we came to him last time, he was down in 130th position. And look, he's managed to make up 15 places already. So he's managed to take both of the Y household out of the competition, passing them both. Maybe he's just offering to get himself a seat at the dinner table tonight and to bring dessert, which I'm fairly sure will be a classic trifle. Simonson just coming across the line in a time of just under 47 minutes. Mr. Y getting himself in there nice and early, getting his early bath, getting himself in the shower, getting himself ready for his candlelit dinner that's going to be made by his wife today as he beat her on the road. But I'm fairly sure that she will get her own back when they get on these hills in the next few days. So let's see these last riders in, if we can. We'll see down to around about 120th position, and then what we'll do is we'll course preview the next stage. But I'm not going to tell you about that yet. Don't want to give too much away, do we? Poisson from the Netherlands, I believe that flag is. Poisson's very French sounding name. Something fishy about that, I think. Irv coming up in 118th position, crossing the line just under 48 minutes. So we can see so far we see oh no, Dyker, what's going on? He must have had a power drop. Come on, you've only got 200 meters to go. Dig in, get that 50 pence back in the electricity meter. I'll get the 50, get your Deutschmarks in the no, he's Belgium, isn't he? What currency do they have in Belgium? Please let me know. Please educate me. My geography is terrible, as you can see by my knowledge of the flags. Dagger obviously had a bit of a drop off there. We can just see that little downward spike in his graph. It looks like he might have had a couple of those through the race. Managing to put, come on Dyker, get up into the orange red. That's better. Keep it in that red all the way to the line. Come on, let's get those last few seconds back. Let's see if we can get you under 49 minutes, which we do comfortably. I think it was a little bit of a drop there, and maybe he was just stopping for some photographs or autographs on the side of the race there. We just don't know. Brady from Scotland, 120th position, currently ticking along 1.6 watts per kilogram. Just easing it in, obviously taking in the atmosphere. Can you imagine if this in the real roads, you'd be just riding up the Arc de Triomphe here, cobbled roads. That won't be a comfortable finish, but as you can see, Sammy has got these roads beautifully smooth there today, so there'll certainly be no rocking and rolling on the cobbles today for these guys. Passing through the Arc, not quite as impressive as the Arc de Triomphe, but certainly, you know, they've got a budget. But Tour de Monde first series, very, very successful so far, and that was a really good TT race, and it was really good to see how all of these riders differ and how they approach the race today. So looking at tomorrow's stage, and that's tomorrow, so these guys have got to do this all again tomorrow. This is not an easy ride. So we're now flying over from Europe over to America into the San Francisco coast. So we actually start on the beautiful, famous Golden Gate Bridge, looking out over the Alcatraz Island. So this takes in two of the three greatest climbs in the San Francisco. It takes all three of the climbs in the San Francisco area: the Red Bull Bay climb, the Potrero Hill, and then the Lombard Street, and then you're gradually finishing off with a downhill flattish finish. So this is going to be a really challenging race tomorrow, and I am fairly sure that we will, after the very first bit, which is a flat and then a downhill section, we will see the ride split. Things will come together. Then these three little peaks that we see in this course will almost certainly split this pack wide apart. 520 meters of elevation and 35 kilometers. So this is certainly not going to be easy by any stretch of imagination. Winding through the roads of San Francisco and the streets of San Francisco. Can't remember the theme tune. Great show, 1970s, shows my age. But let's see how these guys do around the streets of San Francisco tomorrow. So yet again, 4 events tomorrow for this second stage. And after the second stage in San Francisco, they do have a day off. Bless them. They get a day off before they head over to Nazca in Peru. But tomorrow is a road race. It's one of the hilly sections. So we will see all of these riders today lining up tomorrow. See how we do. So that is the third event of the first round of the OTR Tour de Monde. Done and dusted. Check in tomorrow when we have the second round from San Francisco in the USA. Check into the OTR e-racing Facebook group. Have a look at what's coming on with the comments from today's race. Have a look at the team positions and have a look over an RGTDB at the series for the final positions. Join me on Monday when I will be commentating on the final road of the No Pins Super Series starting at 7 PM. But until tomorrow, where we will see you on stage 2 of the OTR Tour de Monde, I bid you all a very happy Saturday, good racing, happy riding, and see you again soon.